Hi everybody, today we're going to talk about a basic concept which is hardening off. This is something that you'll hear a lot of people who are really into growing cacti and succulents talk about and the importance of this. I'm just going to explain some basic concepts about this. This video is part of a series which is basic tips for succulents and cacti growing, some of the foundational basics that you need to understand as you're starting to get started in this hobby area. So one of the things that is important to understand is that when you are making a fresh cut on a plant, it is going to be open and exposed. And basically any bacteria that could get in and that could harm the plant will have open access through that cut. After you have had a plant that has sat for a while, you'll notice that this kind of has like this dried out look to it. That's what's called hardening off. So I'll get a little closer with the video so you can see that. You can see how dry that is. And that hardening off is what's protecting the plant. It's actually going to prevent the plant from getting any bacteria in. You would not want to, for example, put this cutting into the ground, into any soil, especially damp soil, until you have something like this type of callus that you're seeing here on this plant. Okay, so, what does that mean? That means that if you're taking cuttings off of plants and you're being given cuttings by anybody, you're going to want to let them sit for a day or two, especially if it's a more sensitive plant to rot. Sometimes that's different types of euphorbias or cactus. Just let them sit in a nice resting place. So that means some place that isn't in direct sun. You don't want to fry them while they don't have any roots and they don't have any way of getting any type of moisture. So you're just going to put them into a shady location. A lot of people just use like a cardboard box sitting in their garage. They put them in there and they wait until they see basically this type of callus on here. And that's called a hardened off cutting. In some locations where you have really dry soil, you don't get a lot of rainwater, or if you know that you're not going to put the plant into a pot that you're going to immediately water, sometimes you can just put it in. I'll tell you, I've done this and I haven't had too many problems, but it's because I've known that it isn't going to rain. I've also known that I'm not going to water the pot for a while. And so basically I'm allowing the plant to harden off within the soil. Again, though, it's a little risky. If you want to just really be on the safe side, you're better off just letting the cuttings sit. And just let them get into that callus state, that hardened off state, so that you don't run that problem. Okay, so let's take a look, for example, of what happens, what it looks like if it isn't in a hardened off state. So this is the exact same plant, it's just a smaller version of it. And what you can see here is the difference between the two. So the one on the right, that's a fresh cut. You can see that from the green, right? So you are not going to want to put that directly into the ground. That's what I mean about it has not calloused. It has not gotten into a place where the plant is protected. If you put this into soil, especially damp soil, that's where you could see different types of bacteria enter into the plant and you may end up losing the plant versus over here where you have less of that challenge. Now, one of the ways that when people are taking cuttings off of their plants, or when they're taking a cutting like this and they're putting it into the soil, one of the ways that you can actually help is just by using something right out of your kitchen cabinet. So you can use cinnamon. This is just over-the-counter cinnamon that you can put on that cut. It's just as simple as taking the cutting and poking it in there like that. Okay, so why are you using cinnamon? Well, cinnamon, most people don't realize, is actually an antibacterial. And so what you're doing by putting that on the plant is you're basically putting an ingredient on there that's an antibacterial, which is going to help the plant. The plant is now going to become protected, at least to some degree, while it is being put directly into the soil. If you were to take this as a fresh cut and say you were designing a pot or something like that and you didn't want to wait for that callus to form, you could just put that in. Is it going to guarantee that you don't end up with some type of bacteria entering your plant, rotting your plant? Not always. Depends on the sensitivity of the plant, but it's a little bit more of a safer option versus just making the cut and sticking it directly in the soil. If you want to really be on the safe side, if you're really concerned about a plant, if it's expensive, for example, you could take a cutting, you could put this cinnamon on it, stick it in a cardboard box in your garage or someplace that's a shady, cooler location. Give it a couple of days. For some plants, you're going to wait up to a week, sometimes 2 weeks. And then after that, you can take the plant. It will not only will it have this cinnamon on there, but it will have also formed this callus as well. So now it is really protected because of the antibacterial properties of the cinnamon and because of the callus, this natural callusing feature. So once you put this in the ground, it doesn't matter that it's calloused like this. The plant will know what to do. It will actually start forming roots in order to establish itself. But again, the thing to remember about succulents and cacti is that they store so much of their water in their leaves. So in the beginning, when the plant doesn't have roots, when you've just put it in this state, it has no way to absorb water. The only place it's going to draw water from is out of the leaves. And so over time, what it's going to do is establish those roots. You can check and see if a plant's got roots because you're just going to pull on it when it's in the soil. If it comes out super easily, you don't have roots yet. Or if it's just a little bit of a tug and you can kind of feel like it's pulling back, then you can tell it hasn't formed those roots yet. So you don't want to be putting a bunch of water on there because, again, you're going to be introducing an environment that's going to allow the plant to potentially get bacteria in it. If you pull on the plant and you can't get the plant out of the soil very easily, that means it's formed roots. That means you're safe to be able to water. Okay, so that's the concept of hardening off. That's a way that you can put some antibacterial protection on your cuttings. It's explanation of what this means, and when plant people, cacti and succulent lovers, are talking about callusing, this is what they're talking about when they're talking about, hey, be careful, don't necessarily put your cuttings directly into wet soil, don't put them into environments where you're going to get rainfall or where you plan on watering a pot within the short time period. That's what the concept is. So again, this video series is just about teaching some of the very basics when you're getting started with cacti and succulents. As always, if you like the content, please subscribe and like the videos. Thanks so much.